Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner are now in talks with Vladimir Putin in Moscow. Now, before the meeting, President Putin insisted his country isn't seeking a war with Europe, but warned if Europe wants a fight, Russia's ready. Our business interests, though, just very, very weighing on the minds of those around the table in the Kremlin right now. Putin's envoy, Kirill Dmitriev, posted an AI-generated video this morning illustrating plans for an underground tunnel between Alaska and Russia, dubbing it all the Putin-Trump Bridge.
Sometimes a dream is not a fantasy. It just takes time for it to become reality.
Almost it makes you think it should have been set to music. Oh, actually, it was set to music, wasn't it? Now, meanwhile, the Ukrainian foreign minister says that Putin's statement indicates he's not planning on ending the war, and Russia should be forced to do so. Roger Boyce. Let's talk to Roger first, the diplomatic editor at the Times. Hi to you, Roger.
Hi.
It's good to see you here. A really interesting piece you've now written. It's now there in the Times for everyone to see. And it's your perception of President Putin's game plan, his strategy, what he wants to achieve, and it is so far from what those hoping for progress and peace would wish.
Yes, they're on completely different orbits. I would say the only thing, I mean, people are very dismissive about Jared Kushner and Witkoff and Trump's engineering of the talks so far, and I share that skepticism. It's just there is some logic at one stage of the negotiations, which is that they're all real estate guys. Yeah, so Trump is Mr. Big Real Estate. Witkoff is kind of mini mogul real estate, and Jared Kushner, you know, the son-in-law, is a property, amongst other things, a property investor. So, and we're coming to the stage, or we will do when Putin lets us get to that stage, of territorial swaps. And that's when they're kind of in their element, these people. Otherwise, they're completely out of their depth, in particular Witkoff. But when they come down to territorial swaps between Ukraine and Russia, they understand how property is used as leverage, and they might actually make some kind of effect. But at the moment, Putin's not giving them really the time of day.
Right, and as you sort of walk us through Vladimir Putin's thought process, you come up with one piece of reasoning after another, and high on that list is Putin counting on disparities in commitment between different members of that multi-nation alliance backing Ukraine. On the east of the European Union, the NATO border, you've got countries who see an immediate threat and want to deal with it. The further away you go, you're more likely to find countries that see it as remote and theoretical and academic.
Yes, yes, yes. It's an obvious point, really, but it is, however. The truth is that Putin is not a great war leader. He's captured very little over a long period of time, lost a lot of money, lost a lot of people, and hasn't really won the war militarily. But there are political goals that he can achieve and still emerge as some kind of victor at the end of it. And one of them is splitting Europe. First of all, splitting Europe from America, which is going to happen anyway probably under the force of circumstances, but also splitting those countries that feel threatened by Russia from those countries that feel absolutely safe and comfortable.
And when it comes to Donald Trump, it is often, argued that Trump simply doesn't really care about Ukraine. He wants this over and done with. If he can take the credit for being the peacemaker, then great. Might even get him closer to that Nobel Prize winner's medal. But Putin is calculating, it's argued, you argue, that he can just outlast that entire process. And in the meantime, he sort of needs this war to go on.
Yes, that's right. I do think that we're in a situation I'd like to think we're entering the end phase. But it seems to me that there's another year to run. I base that on that first 28-point discussion document in which different Russian talking points were presented as a kind of draft to Witkoff and eventually to Trump. That it's more than just territorial swaps. There's got to be. Ukraine obviously wants security guarantees. Russians obviously want it to be a neutral entity in their own sphere of interest. And all along, if you look at every one of those points, there's multiple levels of negotiation to be had. And there's not even the will at the moment on his side to get to the first base.
Right, and when you say then, and obviously this is a guess, but when you talk about a year still to come before you can maybe more realistically hope for progress, what needs to change in the course of this coming year to bring that about?
Well, first of all, the financing of Ukraine has to be settled. It's running out of money very fast. And that's what Europe has to do now. It has to work out a way as fast as possible of using Russian assets, Russian frozen assets, to rebuild Ukraine.
All right, Roger, really great to talk to you. Thanks so much, and warmly recommend your piece in the Times now.
I believe that both sides are playing this game when they have to keep Americans in the loop. This is important for us, important for Europe, but it's also as much important to Russia as to anybody else.
And when you hear, and you'll have considered this, the analysis that Putin is not interested in this war at the moment. He thinks he wants to keep on fighting. He thinks there's more to be gained. He can wear down the will and the resistance that he's facing. In your view, other talks that are taking place now, today, as we speak in the Kremlin, is this an entirely futile exercise, do you think?
As many Ukrainians, I would love to believe that we are coming somewhere. And I just listened to President Zelensky in Ireland when he mentioned that we've never been that close to the resolution. And I understand that we are tired and people dying and the nation is becoming devastated. But I also share with the same skepticism as yourself that all of this might go to nowhere or can be done on purpose. So the Putin sort of raising the expectations of everybody, telling them that soon the war will be over, even to our European and American partners. And then when everybody's relaxed and hoping for the best outcomes, he's just saying, guys, I'm not ready. I'm not happy because I have to achieve all the targets of my special military operations. That's the way he calls the war. And today, Mr. Peskov, his press secretary, made just this statement, that diplomatic negotiations is just another way of achieving everything we want as Russia.
What is your own assessment of the value of Steve Witkoff, the envoy, and for that matter, Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, as negotiators, as intermediaries in Moscow now?
We have to recognize that some professions like diplomacy and journalism are dying. We are not needed anymore, like me and yourself, because people are talking to each other directly. The leaders, they're talking through their sons-in-law, they're talking through their business buddies, and that's how they believe in this era. The issues, very complicated issues of foreign affairs and security, can be resolved. We might believe that this is the wrong approach, but we will see that. I hope that we will see that this time this war can be resolved through very unconventional sort of ways, and that's what President Trump is doing.
Right. Well, I often hear it argued, then, don't we, that there was progress in Gaza through unconventional means of a kind that only Donald Trump could have achieved. Do you see any kind of comparison with Ukraine? Many
people are making the same comparison, and there is a quite difficult part to swallow in this comparison, that the Israel, even being such a close ally to the United States, been pressured so much to take this quite a sour pill. So what people asking, what would happen with Ukraine? Ukraine is not that historically close to the United States, whether it will be treated fairly. We will see quite soon. And, we were just discussing, for example, the territorial swaps. I understand that everybody in the studio knows what is that, but for your listeners, I have to tell your listeners that we're actually talking about swapping occupied Ukrainian lands for non-occupied Ukrainian lands. That's how they make a deal. How fair is this deal?
Yeah, and of course there's a constitutional bar to that, and Ukrainian public opinion, from what we do know, would not take to that at all. But for now, Vladimir Putin, the former Ukrainian ambassador to London, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.